Virtual workshop for the 2023-2024 Unified Planning Work Program, otherwise known as the UPWP. My name is Shoni Bennix. I'm a program manager at the Genesee Transportation Council, and I manage the UPWP process. This presentation will provide an overview of the application process. All things UPWP can be found at publicinput.com/GTCUPWP. Here you will find the Call for Project Partnerships document that goes into greater detail on the requirements related to the UPWP application process. If you have additional questions regarding the application process after watching this video, I encourage you to read the call document. On this website, you will also find the application. Both the call and the application are available for download in the document section towards the bottom right of the web page. So what is the Genesee Transportation Council, otherwise known as GTC? GTC is a Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, for the 9-county Genesee Finger Lakes region. As you can see on the slide, our planning region extends from Orleans, Genesee, and Wyoming counties to the west, over to Wayne, Seneca, and Yates to the east, fully encompassing Monroe, Livingston, and Ontario counties as well. So GTC is responsible for federally funded transportation policy planning and investment decision-making as it pertains to the surface transportation system. GTC is made up of a policy board of elected representatives from local, state, and federal governments, along with transportation agencies. At its core, GTC is responsible for 3 major work products, one being the UPWP, another is a Long-Range Transportation Plan, or LRTP, and the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP. The Long-Range Plan sets the strategic direction for all of GTC's actions and programs, and this is updated every 5 years. The policies in the LRTP are then further refined through the UPWP through individual planning studies, and we update the UPWP every year. Finally, the TIP is the capital program that funds improvements to the transportation infrastructure, such as a road resurfacing or bridge reconstruction. Personally, I like to think that the LRTP is the umbrella that covers the organization. Everything that GTC does has to follow the framework set forth in the LRTP. And this is especially true when you're applying for UPWP funds. Your project that you're proposing has to support the Long-Range Transportation Plan. So taking a bit of a deeper dive into the Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP, it's really Genesee Transportation Council's operating plan and annual budget. The UPWP lists all the federally funded transportation planning activities that GTC, its member agencies, and other municipalities in the 9-county Genesee Finger Lakes region will conduct during the next fiscal year. Activities that are proposed and ultimately funded, again, must be consistent with the Long-Range Transportation Plan. The UPWP primarily supports concept-level planning, analysis, and design activities. The federal transportation planning funding cannot be used for detailed design or engineering. On the right of the screen, you will notice the call for project partnerships. The call explains the UPWP and the application process in greater details. If you are new to the process, or you have questions about the application process, I highly recommend reading the Call for Project Partnerships document. There's a lot more information available in this document. So when you first have a project idea for the UPWP, the first thing you need to ask yourself, is my project idea eligible to be funded through the UPWP? Again, we fund high-level planning studies and concept design. We cannot fund detailed design or engineering. Typically, our eligible activities fall into 3 categories: infrastructure, surface services and programs, and transportation and land use coordination. If you go into the Call for Project Partnerships PDF document, there's a complete listing of multiple different categories that fall under these 3 main headings of what types of plans we funded in the past. There's also a link to the GTC Plans and Studies page that has all the UPWP projects that we funded throughout the years on there. If you have any specific questions about your project idea, please feel free to reach out to me. GTC is here to help, and we're happy to answer any questions. So regarding eligible study areas and applicants, the federal transportation planning funding that GTC receives and shares through the UPWP program is meant to support transportation planning activities in the 9-county Genesee Finger Lakes region. As far as the study areas go, you can look at the entire 9-county region. You could do multiple municipalities spanning several towns or several counties. You could do just a single municipality, a town, village, county, city. You could do a corridor that again spans multiple municipalities, or you could look at a downtown neighborhood or district defined however you need to define it based on your application idea. And regarding the applicants themselves, any city, town, or village in the region, along with GTC member agencies, can apply. If you are a non-for-profit or a private entity, then you need the sponsorship of a municipality or a member agency to apply. On the question, on the application rather, there's a question that states lead applicant, and that's where again, that member agency or municipality would have to apply on behalf of a non-for-profit or a private entity. So regarding the project proposal requirements, the call for project partnerships document that I've previously mentioned goes into much greater depth on these. I'm just going to hit a couple highlights right now. We do require a minimum of 10% match to the total project budget. We do encourage people to provide more than the minimum. We also understand that for smaller municipalities that providing cash is difficult. This match can be made in cash, in kind, or a combination of the two. I always like to tell everybody to put down in kind match. There is this guarantee that you'll be spending a lot of time on the project as it moves along. Additionally, projects are expected to be completed within 2 years of commencement. If satisfactory progress is not being made, GTC will work with you to get the project moving along. If it looks like that's not going to happen, then we do reserve the right to revoke the funding. And then public engagement opportunities are required for all projects that result in recommendations or actions with a direct or indirect impact on the public. The only time public engagement would not be required would be for data collection projects. If you're doing like a sign assessment or a horizontal curve study or collecting traffic counts, then we would not require public engagement. But for the vast majority of projects that are funded through the UPWP program, public engagement is required. Building out the requirements, there are a few more important considerations. GTC will hold the contract for non-member agencies. If your UPWP proposal requires consultant services, then GTC will enter into the contract on your behalf and take care of all the administration work that surrounds that. If you have a cash match that's proposed on your project, then the payment terms of that cash match must be agreed upon before a request for proposal or qualifications is released. Additionally, quarterly reports must be submitted. The GTC Grants and Contract Administrator will be emailing you each quarter, and this is required for us to report back to our federal funding agents. So even if there's no financial activity in a quarter, we do have to report that. So we kindly ask that you email our Grants and Contract Administrator back when she sends out these quarterly reports. The important considerations. If you receive funding, GTC will reach out to you and assign a GTC Program Manager to assist you through the process. The first step will be to work with your staff liaison to help develop your project scope of work. This ensures it's consistent with your proposed application. At that point, the next step in the process is to go out for professional services. Again, your staff liaison will work with you to complete a request for proposal or qualifications. GTC uses a qualifications-based procurement process. This helps ensure that all of our federal guidelines regarding the use of the funding will be met. The budgets are clearly stated in the UPWP, in the scope of work, and the RFP or RFQ. Therefore, pricing is not a factor during the consultant selection process. Additionally, all projects are required to have an executive summary that can be presented to the board. The GTC board then adopts the executive summary as evidence of completion. Your municipality is welcome to formally accept or adopt the plan or study, but that is not required by GTC. So new for the 2023-2024 UPWP application process are several new application requirements, and additionally we updated the application itself. We updated the application to better reflect the priorities that were listed in the long-range transportation plan. Again, tying back to the UPWP supporting the LRTP, we really felt that an update to the application was due. If you've applied for funding in the past, you will notice the application is very similar to ones we've used in the past. The format is the same. The questions are generally the same. There are a few new questions. I'll get into one of them in greater detail. We also have a couple new requirements for all the applications in general. So this is required to confirm support from the facility owner or operator. So what does that mean? Say you're a town and you have a New York State DOT route going through the center of your town, and you want to look at safety aspects, maybe putting some more bicycle pedestrian facilities in place. Well, you need to make sure that you call the New York State DOT and make sure they're on board with your project idea. And if you need help contacting any facility owner or operator, GTC is here to help. There are member agencies. We work with them every day, so I'm happy to put you in touch with who you need to talk to for that. And this goes for GTC projects as well. If we propose a project in the City of Rochester, then it's definitely on us to make sure the City of Rochester is on board with our project idea. This is optional, but we felt like last year there was an application that provided some photos, and it really did help make the point that the project idea was needed. So if you have any photos or infographics to give the reviewers context of why your project's needed, you are more than welcome to attach them. I don't think it's necessary for everybody to do this, but if you feel in your case that it would really help tell your story about your application and why your project idea is needed, then you're more than welcome to provide us with some photos or other visuals to help explain your project. So again, the UPWP application has been updated for this cycle. I did want to take a little bit of time to dive deeper into question number 7. So you can see on the screen, it says, discuss the connection between the project and the long-range transportation plan. Identify one or more specific recommendations that this project will advance and briefly explain how the project will support the recommendations. So in the call for project partnerships document, the recommendations chapter from the long-range plan follows. So if you download the call for projects, you will have all the recommendations from our long-range plan. These are divided up into 5 categories: health and safety, access and equity, system management and maintenance, sustainability and resiliency, and economic development. As you're going through your project and the application and trying to match up the recommendations that your project is supporting, I would suggest starting with these high-level categories and then diving deeper into the recommendations. As you can see in the project spotlight that's shown to the right of the screen, GTC did this in the long-range plan. So there are many examples of how to do this in the plan itself. This is for the New York State Route 36 corridor study. You can see at the bottom we have 3 recommendations that this study really supported. So we have, I think, 78 recommendations, which is a lot. We are not looking for the most number of recommendations that your project supports. So really, again, looking just for those 2 to 3 really high-level recommendations that your project really is focused on. If you're having trouble narrowing it down, or if you're having trouble just getting started on this question, GTC is here to help. I will be available via email and phone to help anybody with the application process. This is a new question, and I think this is the new question that may cause the most thinking compared to the other questions. So I did want to take a little bit of time to explain it. But again, we're not looking for listing 10 to 15 recommendations. 2 or 3 with a brief explanation about how your project idea advances the recommendation is really all we're looking for with this question. Again, we just want to strengthen the connection between our long-range plan and the transportation planning studies that we are funding through our UPWP process. The initial review of UPWP proposals is conducted by the UPWP Development Committee. This committee consists of representatives from Livingston County, Monroe County, Ontario County, and Wayne County, the City of Rochester, the New York State Department of Transportation, the Rochester Genesee Regional Transportation Authority, and the Genesee Finger Lakes Planning Council. Projects are selected on a competitive basis. They're scored along a 100-point scale. I will note the scoring is really a starting point and is not the sole factor used to select projects. If your proposal does not get funded, GTC staff will contact you and provide an explanation and offer technical assistance or a debrief on how you can improve your application for a future cycle. So the schedule for the UPWP development process follows on the screen. The call went out September 9th. We're going to offer 2 virtual applicant afternoon sessions on September 20th and 27th. If these times do not work for you, then please get a hold of me and we will arrange a different time to meet. The project proposals are due October 14th at 4 p.m. They are to be submitted electronically. The UPWP Development Committee will review proposals November through December. Once they review the proposals, they'll submit a draft list to our Planning Committee, and the Planning Committee will take action on the list on January 5th. This is followed by a 30-day public review period, and then any public comments we receive or changes to the draft list will be undertaken at the Planning Committee meeting on February 9th. And finally, the GTC Board adopts the UPWP at its February 23rd meeting. And as every year, we follow the federal fiscal year, so all the new funding begins on April 1st. So if you do get funded, you can start your project after April. Additionally, You will know if your project enters that public review list. I will contact you late December, early January, and let you know either way if your project was selected to be part of that list or if the UDC is proposing not to fund your project at the time. So you will hear back late December, early January on the status of your project. And that wraps up my presentation for today. Thank you for listening. I wish you all the best success on applying for the UPWP funding this round. If you need additional details, again, I really encourage everybody to read the Call for Project Partnerships document. You will need that document again to fill out the application as well. Again, question 7 really dives into those long-range transportation plan recommendations. Those are available in the Call for Project Partnerships document. My email is available on the slide. My name is Jody Bennix. If you have any questions at all, if you need help contacting a facility owner or operator, please do not hesitate to reach out. GTC is here to help. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to reviewing everyone's application.